some of your childhood games? For me, a few of those games are Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam, Super Mario World, A Link to the Past, my dad had an SNES, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Virtual Villagers A New Home, Rhythm Heaven Re, Wario Smooth Moves, Minecraft, my brain,
I think it's broken.
Tomodachi Life, Mario Kart Wii, Roblox, and in today's case, Plants vs. Zombies. Plants vs. Zombies is a tower defense game that came out on May 5, 2009 on PC, and various other, or the exact same dates for Mac, iOS, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, the Nintendo DS, the Nintendo DSi as DSiRail, Android, Windows Phone, the PlayStation Vita, and BlackBerry devices. Plants vs. Zombies is considered one of the greatest video games of all time, with people thinking that the adventure mode is a tutorial for other game modes, which were praised as they added replay value. The game modes in Plants vs. Zombies are Adventure Mode, where you play through 50 levels to defeat the game's main antagonist, Dr. Zomboss and his zombie army who want your brain specifically for some reason. Minigames, which shake up the usual format like having plant/zombie hybrids attacking your lawn, having to make a star using starfruit while an endless zombie wave attacks, having mostly zombies and pogo sticks, the zombies being invisible, and exactly 16 more. Puzzles, which basically just involve trying to find the most optimal/ideal way of breaking bases and sending out zombies respectively, and Survival, which has 5 waves on each of the various locations: day, night, pool night, aka fog, and roof. Harder versions of them, 3 of which I don't have, and then an endless version that I also don't have, which takes place on the pool and as the name states, is endless, having more and more difficult zombies show up until Giga Gargantuars become the most common threat. At least I assume so. I don't know, I don't have it, and hard work gets really overwhelming for me.
But I'm not going to be reviewing Plants vs. Zombies, no. Today, I'm going to be reviewing and ranking all 20 minigames since I'm just a massive minigame fan. I don't play Mario Party to Mario Party. I play Mario Party to win at the minigames. Fuck, I'm lonely.
Other versions of Plants vs. Zombies have different minigames, like how the DS version has a minigame where you can only have 4 pea shooters, 4 lily pads, and 2 walnuts to defend the pool, but you can move them around and power them up by yelling into the microphone. And how the Xbox 360 version has a minigame where the game becomes a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game where you move over a lawnmower that has a pea shooter on it while being able to buy 2 upgrades and various other plants like a doomed human cattail for example. But I'm only going to be taking a look at all of the minigames on the Steam version, as that's the one I have, and I don't feel like grinding a bunch of versions of the same game to unlock minigames. Who knows though, maybe someday in the future I'll review and rank every single minigame in every single version of Plants vs. Zombies.
But seeing as how I've never ranked a bunch of stuff before, this is kind of new ground for me. So like whenever I reviewed Castlevania and Ghosts and Goblins to find a harder NES game, it's time for Danspection to have a new segment, The Verdict. Seeing as how one of the definitions of verdict is an express conclusion, a judgment or opinion, it makes sense for me to call a segment where I try to find the best thing in a bunch of similar things, The Verdict. And sure, when I reviewed a bunch of games of Pong or Find a Pong is Pong, that could be seen as a ranking, but I didn't do it from worst to best, instead just reviewing a bunch of Pong/Pong-esque games. Whereas here, I'm going to be going from, in my opinion, the worst Plants vs. Zombies minigame to the best Plants vs. Zombies minigame.
What are the 20 minigames exactly? In order, the following minigames are ZOMBOTANY, Walnut Bowling, Slot Machine, It's Raining Seeds, Beghouled, INVISI-GHOUL, Seeing Souls, Zombiquarium, Beghouled Twist, Big Turtle Little Zombie, Portal Combat, Column Lyceum, Bobsled Bonanza, Zombie Nimble Zombie Quick, Whack-A-Zombie, Last Stand, ZOMBOTANY 2, Walnut Bowling, POGO Party, and Dr. Zomboss's Revenge. Each with their own fun twist on the usual Plants vs. Zombies format, complete with their own ups and downs, and fun icons that give a hint as to what the minigame is. Like how ZOMBOTANY has a basic zombie with a pea shooter head, Walnut Bowling has a walnut rolling, Slot Machine has a slot handle, etc. etc. But you don't get to play the minigames from the moment you launch the game. Instead, you need to play up to and beat level 3-2, where one random zombie drops present, unlocking the minigame slot. But you also need to beat adventure mode and various minigames in no particular order to be able to get all 20 of them. The last thing I'll say is that the minigames are very good for farming money with, since on your first completion you get a trophy, which is worth 1k money, and on future completions you get 5 gold coins, which is worth 250 money. And with 5 lawnmowers and a macro, you can basically leave the game open for 5 hours to max out the money.
Well, with all of that exposition out of the way, it's finally time to start the verdict off with INVISI-GHOUL.
INVISI-GHOUL has one gimmick, and one gimmick only. the zombies are invisible. There are a couple of things that aren't invisible, like ice trails, fallen buckets, and fallen road cones for a few seconds. But having a pea shooter and or corner point in all of the rows basically makes the gimmick pointless, since you know where the zombies are, and even though Dolphin Rider zombies are in this, the squash is very easy to take care of them, so like, what's the point? The gimmick very, and I mean very quickly disappears, and it isn't really worth playing any, if at all. It's Raining Seeds is the first minigame you get after completing Zombotany, Walnut Bowling, and Slot Machine. It has you protect the backyard at night while it's foggy and raining. Since it's raining, you get seeds at random as they fall from the sky, but they also disappear if you don't plant them. It's Raining Seeds is a really forgettable minigame. I really don't like how we can end up getting 48 plants at random compared to Slot Machine. It isn't even that challenging towards the end since you can fill up the entire backyard before the final wave. This is also just personal preference, but I like the iPad icon for this minigame a little bit more than the rest. Hell, you can't even make out the seed packets on the DS icon. If I did have to give this a positive though, it is at least clever with how it randomly gives us plans. I do not like Beghouled Twist. Entirely skill issue on my part since I can't see matches as easily as Beghouled. But holy shit, it is literally just about the exact same as Beghouled besides how you make matches. My notes for Beghouled Twist are literally 2 sentences. Beghouled Twist's only difference is that you make matches by moving 4 plants in a clockwise pattern, but as I said, I can't see matches easily in this one, so I just click at random, which, yeah, it works. POGO Party unsurprisingly is composed of mostly Pogo zombies, which would be bad if you didn't have any tall nuts and or magnetriums, as they can block Pogo zombies from jumping instead of Pogo zombies Pogo stick respectively. Pogo zombies are already annoying to deal with in adventure mode, but here they are a nightmare to deal with, and putting up any defense to get them is so expensive. Since it's on the roof you need flower pots, which cost 25 sun, magnetriums cost 100 sun, and since it's a daytime level you need the coffee bean which costs 75 sun. And if you want to go with tallness to defend plants behind them, you'll need 125 sun, meaning that any form of defense against the Pogo zombies costs anywhere from 150 to 200 sun. And I can only assume that they made this one a roof level for extra difficulty since, again, roof levels need flower pots so you can plant plants, and most plants don't lob stuff in an arch, which is what you need on roof level since most of it is at an angle.
Thankfully, I did beat this one when getting gameplay, but I never want to play Pogo Party. It can go Pogo itself into the sun.
Bobsled Bonanza takes place at the pool during the day, and is full to the brim with Zombonis. Thankfully this one lets us pick our plants because Bobsled Bonanza is a very difficult minigame until you get spiked rocks in the forest right column, which then just makes it a regular game of Plants vs Zombies. There are 4 ice trails from the get-go which lets tons and tons of zombie bobsled teams show up, but if you get rid of the ice with something like a jalapeno, then Zombonis show up to make more ice until, as I just said, you use spike rocks to destroy them as soon as they show up. I am not a big Bobsled Bonanza fan. It's really annoying, too long to keep my attention, and is also one of the only few minigames that I got a game over on when getting gameplay. But I know how to beat Bobsled Bonanza, I just really don't have much respect for it. Especially since it feels like it could be a regular level in adventure mode. Zombiquarium is probably the most non-Plants vs Zombies minigame, and that makes perfect sense because this one is based off of Insaniquarium, which is a virtual pet simulation game. All you do in Zombiquarium is raise snorkel zombies to produce sun, so you can buy more snorkel zombies that cost 100 sun to eventually get 1000 sun and collect the trophy. But that's easy, so to help make it more challenging, the snorkel zombies get sick and die if you don't feed them brains which cost 5 sun, which can be free of on screen. But they can go away if they get eaten, which duh, or they touch the ground. There's also this cute detail where you can tap on the glass while there's free brains on screen. Very charming. Zombiquarium is definitely very unique compared to the rest of the minigames, but I really like that even if it is really easy if you just pay attention to the zombies. There really isn't any challenge though, so even though it could be a lot more memorable and well liked, it's just sorta alright, nothing really interesting going on.
A show of hands, how many people here know of Portal? Wow, that is not a lot of hands. I need to meet people.
Portal is a 2007 3D puzzle platform where you play Shell, going through various Portal-themed chess chambers, and the only reason I started Portal Combat by talking about Portal is probably because it inspired Portal Combat. As is blue and orange portals like in Portal, But Portal Combat has 2 blue portals and 2 orange portals, which is really annoying to deal with since you don't have any indication as to which portal has stuff go in and which portal has stuff go out. I think that if they flipped one, or changed the colors of the entry and exit are more visually different, then I would think higher of this one, but they didn't. So what in theory should be a fun, where are the zombies and my plant's attacks really gonna go challenge, is a needless head scratcher, even if I do eventually figure out where they go. Portals can also relocate every now and then, but if you have an attacking plant in every row, it doesn't do that big of a shift. Except for whenever you have really weird areas like here, and all hell breaks loose. Genuinely, just a simple hue shift so one orange is more red and one blue is a darker blue would have made this one a lot better. On the bright side though, since you get repeaters, cherry bombs, and torchwoods, you can do a lot of damage. But again, the 2 orange and 2 blue repeaters are way too similar. Wow, this one is gambling. Like, literally, it's an RNG minigame with a slot machine at the top, where instead of gambling your hard-earned money, you gamble your hard-earned suns. In slot machine, you can get suns, sunflowers, pea shooters, snow peas, walnuts, or diamonds. Despite suns being in the slot machine, they're obviously not common, as that would make the objective of getting 2,000 suns too easy. And speaking of getting 2,000 suns, every time we use the slot machine it costs 25 sun. So until we get a few sunflowers down, we have to wait 10 seconds to be able to pull the lever again. But as always, zombies want to eat our brains, so we need to hopefully get lucky enough to get a pea shooter and a snow pea in every row so we have some way of defeating the zombies. But when we do get lucky and get free of one thing, like the suns for example, oh my god, I can't stop winning! We get anywhere from 100 to 500 sun if we get free sun, with plants we get 3 of them, and matching diamonds gives us 1 to 3 of them. But getting 2 of one thing isn't as rewarding.
And that's how they lure you in. Start off small with big ones and then boom! Giant win! And then rob you in plain daylight. Oh, no, moonlight, cause casinos make the passage of time a myth.
Thankfully, this specific slot machine is in our favor a bit more since obtaining sun to use it gets easier and easier as time goes on. I'm honestly just not that big a fan of luck-based minigames. The zombies being luck-based, sure, I get it. But in the case of what you need to make sure your brain doesn't become a 5-course meal, slot machine doesn't do it as well as conveyor belt levels, because at least you can store and plan what you'll do with plants in those levels. The last stand is similar to the easy pool survival mode, as you have to survive 5 rounds in one location, but unlike survival mode, you don't get to repick seeds, you can't plant any sun producing suns or get falling sun, and you start off with 5k sun, only able to get 250 at the end of each rave. I think the icon on the iPad, Xbox Live, and iPhone touchless, iPod touchless, Android versions of PvZ is really funny cause the walnut is just doing a 1000-yard stare. To be honest, I didn't formulate some unique plan to win this one as I just sorta used the money farm, so I can't really properly give my opinion on the last stand as it uses fume shooms, which are insanely OP when combined with the garlic. But I think it's just too similar to the mid-late game survival pool hard, and survival endless to stand on its own. But what do I know? I only beat survival pool at the time of this video. Maybe if you really like the survival game mode from Plants vs Zombies, then you'll like this minigame. But I'm not the biggest fanatic of it, or the money farm since it's so than just farming the money back in the lawnmower you get at the end of a minigame. Walnut bowling has you bowl walnuts into a few zombies as they try to invade your lawn. There's also a new walnut called the Exploder Nut that explodes like a cherry bomb. Not like the band toy that's way too common for mistake people make nowadays, when it comes into contact with a zombie. But walnut bowling is actually in adventure mode in level 1-5, but with a few differences like the bucket head, pole vaulting, and newspaper zombie being included, while the one in adventure mode only has regular and cone head zombies. This minigame also only lets us pick walnuts or exploder nuts as they come to us on a conveyor belt, which always has a predetermined set of plans coded into the game. When a walnut hits a zombie, it'll then go at the top right or bottom right angle, possibly hitting other zombies and getting coins, before alternating between the 2 angles per hit. Cone-headed newspaper zombies need 2 hits, with buckethead zombies needing 3 hits. Walnut bowling is fine, and I can see why they included it in minigames, because it's a different way to defend your lawn, and people might have wanted to replay this, in other various levels from adventure mode, without needing to make a new save file and play up to it. But I think that despite the new zombies not being in level 1-5, the minigame Walnut Bowling and level Walnut Bowling just end up being one of the same in my mind, which is unfortunate but honestly expected. But yeah, Walnut Bowling is alright, and officially marks the halfway point of the verdict. Here's the current ranking. That sure is a ranking. Wow. Zombie Nimble Zombie Quick. Zombie jump over to P shoot all. Literally everything in this minigame is twice as fast. The zombies, the plants, projectiles, sun, seeds recharging, it's all really hectic but really fun when you keep up with the pace. It doesn't stand out though, especially since Big Trouble Little Zombie, which comes earlier than Zombie Nimble Zombie Quick, already did the whole zombies are fast thing. But it's honestly fine. Fun minigame that doesn't test your skills of spitting your drink any. Zombotany is the first minigame we unlock, and its premise is very simple. There are zombies that have the head of a pea shooter and walnut on them. The pea shooter zombie doing what a pea shooter does by shooting up peas the moment that a plant is in the same row as it. And the walnut zombie just has more health. We can also pick any single plant in our arsenal to fortify our front line against these Frankenstein creation of zombies. Using potato bombs and or squashes to fend off any stray zombies in the beginning is a huge help. But the moment a row has 2 pea shooters guarded by a walnut, it's basically over for the zombie. I also beat this minigame on camera back in 2023 with a video from my main channel titled, I celebrated my 18th birthday with free gaming challenges.
The challenges weren't challenges. I lied.
It was during that recording for that very video where I learned how OP having 2 sunflower, or sunstreams for night levels, columns were. I think Zombotany, walnut bowling, and slot machine showcases what the minigames are all about perfectly. It's just general twists and gimmicks on how Plants vs Zombies works in a very refreshing way, and Zombotany isn't too difficult from adventure mode, but still has its own character from it. Although you could just replace the pea shooter with the catapult zombie, and the walnut zombie with the buckethead zombie, and not much would change besides the fact that now you need to deal with basketballs raining down on you. Walnut Bowling 2 is the sequel to Walnut Bowling. We only get one new type of walnut, that being a giant walnut, which destroys any zombie in its row until it goes off screen. There are however new zombies here, those being the screen door zombie, dancing zombies, and backup dancer zombies that can be summoned by the dancing zombie. You get spoon-fed giant walnuts and exploding nuts before the first flag, making it easier than it should be, but it's so challenging and luck is still involved as it's a conveyor belt level. I think in the grand scheme of things this one suffers from the same problems Zombotany 2 does, but it's still a great sequel to Walnut Bowling. A column like you see him takes place on the roof during the day. It's a conveyor belt level where when planting the plants you get down, they get planted in a column compared to a single square. But if there's a taken space or no flower pot, the plant doesn't get planted, unless if it's a flower pot because flower pots are how you have plants on your roof. You start off with an already massive wave, continuing with more and more massive waves, like the second wave has you deal with gargantuans that early on. This is also one where I got a game over, which isn't really common for me. Column like you see him is one of the more difficult minigames, but I think that the gimmick of plants being placed in a column is really unique. But if you don't put the one turn that you get back a little bit, your run is as good as dead. Not to say luck isn't involved if you put them in front, but Column like you see him definitely rewards smarter planning than some of the other minigames. Dr. Zomboss's Revenge is the final minigame, and it's basically the final level but now with Dr. Zomboss having 1.5 times more health. Besides the cabbage pult, corner pult, and melon pult, you get flower pots, jalapenos, and ice creams, the latter of the two being used to take care of the giant balls of ice and fire Dr. Zomboss sends out respectively. And to be honest, even though it's basically one-to-one with the final level of the game, I can see why they added it to minigames. People would realistically want to replay the final boss fight without replaying the entire game again. And compared to the rest of the minigames, it's a fine challenge that isn't overly difficult if you don't let Dr. Zomboss get the better of you. Zombotany 2 is the sequel to Zombotany. It's the same as Zombotany, but now with more plant/zombie hybrids, and it's at the pool. The new hybrids are the Gallon Pea Zombies, which shoot out a ton of peas, Tallnut Zombies, which are stronger than Walnut Zombies, Squash Zombies, which can insta-destroy plants, and Jalapeno Zombies, which destroy rural plants. All of them besides the Squash Zombie are able to go into the pool. There really isn't much to say about this one that you can't say about Zombotany. And even though adding new plant/zombie hybrids does help it stand out from Zombotany, in the grand scheme of things, this just feels like they didn't know what to add, so they just thought to modify Zombotany a little bit. It's good, yes, but it isn't that great a sequel.
Have you ever played a game where you need to line up free items like Candy Crush or Beghouled? Because that's basically what Beghouled is, but with a few plants.
We need to get 75 matches in order to win, but unlike Beghouled, which this one is obviously based off of, there are zombies that can eat up plants and all brains. If a plant does get eaten, we can replant and shuffle/get new plants for 200 and 100 sun respectively, which we get from getting matches. We can also upgrade plants to take on the zombies battle, or pea shooters turn into repeaters for 2000 sun, or puff shrooms turn into fume shrooms for 500 sun, and the walnuts turn into tallnuts for 250 sun. We can only match plants vertically and horizontally, and if we can't find one, the game will highlight the plants we can swap to get a match. I really like Beghouled. It shakes things up so well and changes how you play the game in a giant way similar to walnut bowling. If anything, going completely ham when getting matches is the most ideal way of doing this, which does make it easier, but it's absolutely fine since you still need to focus on making sure your plants don't get eaten while primarily focus on getting matches. Seeing stars has you make a star on your front lawn using starfruit. Now that sounds easy, but it's honestly kinda difficult since for faded starfruit you can only plant starfruit on them. It also doesn't help that in the beginning, I can't plant starfruit in such a way where they hurt the zombies, because they shoot at stars from the tips, which is a little confusing for me to get used to. At least later it doesn't matter because there's so many starfruit. This one is actually not endless on mobile, which makes sense. Phones just aren't as powerful as PCs. Seeing stars is a great minigame, and there are actually similar minigames that you need to do some weird hackery stuff to get access that I don't really know how to do. But from looking at images on the Plants vs Zombies wiki.gg page, I can tell that they weren't really included since they're basically the same. Either way, Seeing Stars has a giant star roadblock that works well in its favor. Big Try to Little Zombie takes place at the pool during the day, and the entire minigame is basically level 3 to 5 from adventure mode. Zombies are smaller, faster, weaker, with a quarter of their regular health, meaning that regular zombies take 2 to 3 hits, and are far more plentiful. This one is honestly really fun. It's incredibly hectic during the beginning, but cherry bombs are a beyond godsend for large zombie clusters. And football zombies as their strongest zombie hero. It's fun, I like it. It's a good, not overwhelming or too difficult challenge. It feels like a step up from Zombotany, and I can only assume that mods for Plants vs Zombies are similar in terms of their vibe. Whack-A-Zombie takes place at the front yard at night. Using a mallet, you destroy zombies that rise from various graves on the lawn. Sometimes, zombies give you sandwiches let you buy potato mines, grave busters, or ice creams, although I just use grave busters in this one. This minigame is in level 2-5, but it's obviously a touch harder as a minigame than as a level. It also starts off easy before over time getting more difficult as the zombies spawn and move faster and faster, with cone-headed buckethead zombies showing up too. But using an auto-clicker like a dirty Cheeto makes this asininely easy. It's a good minigame that shakes things up well and is a go-to for me if I want to play a few minigames in Plants vs Zombies.
And well, that's all 20 minigames from Plants vs Zombies ranked.
In order, the ranking is INVISI-GHOUL, It's Raining Seeds, Beghouled Twist, POGO Party, Bobsled Bonanza, Zombiquarium, Portal Combat, Slot Machine, Last Stand, Walnut Bowling, Zombie Nimble Zombie Quick, Zombotany, Walnut Bowling 2, Call 'em Like You See 'em, Dr. ZOMBOSS'S Revenge, Zombotany 2, Beghouled, Seeing Stars, Big Trouble Little Zombie, and Whack-A-Zombie.
To be entirely honest, having all of my thoughts in every minigame in this 16-year-old game is pretty weird. Also, fuck, I'm old. I was 4 when this game came out. There was also another reason for me doing this. That's right, suckers. I'm gonna take up gardening so that way I can fortify my office. All I have left to do is to wait for this nut tree to grow and start making me walnuts.
One day later.
I think it's dead.
And that is a wrap on Season 3, Episode 3 of Danspection. Not a Mega Man episode, but trust me, the episode after the next one will be the Mega Man 5 reveal in May. That's weird, oh man, Mega Man May. As of me recording this, it is 11:45, so an hour and 15 minutes to midnight, which means I have technically a day left, but I'm basically finished as of me recording this. So I'm gonna try to make this as quick as I possibly can. That direct was insane, and I was also live for it, and if you want to see me do more stuff live, like reacting to the April 2nd Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch 2, my Twitch channel is twitch.tv/AnnualDaniel. And if you want to see my reaction to the March 27th Nintendo Direct, my highlights is on my main channel, Annual Daniel, and I uploaded the entire VOD on my new channel, Annual Daniel VODs. All three of those are in my link tree, and it would mean a lot to me if you gave the Twitch a follow and the main channel and VOD channel a subscription. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much, and thank you again for making it to the end of this video. But what's your ranking of the Plants vs. Zombies minigames? I'm genuinely curious to know how mine and yours compare, because at the end of the day, no one has the right opinion on anything anymore. But I have a big video for the main channel that I really need to start working on soon. Well, continue working on soon, I should say. And hopefully in, not including today, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, I can get this finished. I'm not really looking forward to it because it's an hour 40, an hour 45, but it is a doozy. Again, thank you for watching to the end of this video. Please be sure to subscribe and share it with a friend and comment about minigames in Plants vs. Zombies.